up, everybody, and welcome back to the Overseas Famous Podcast, Season 3. We missed you over the summer. We all had a ton of shit to do, but we are back now, and we are rolling into Season 3. So we had lots of different things happen this off season. John got married. Michaela got her motorcycle license. I released a book. It's been a crazy summer. We are all very excited. We met up several times. We did the book signing. We all met up for John's wedding. It was a great off season. We all enjoyed it. And now it's time to go back to school. So, Michaela, John, what's up? How are we doing? Let's get back to it.
Feeling pretty good, Kev, man. We had a good book signing the other night. Little DJ action, a lot of publicity here in Cherry Hill at Mechanical Brewery. Some good beers over there, brother.
Yeah, I feel like I felt like I was at a wedding in terms of I was just running around from group to group, seeing different people, signing the books, doing all this, that like every time someone would hand me a drink and I'd like kind of get halfway through it, and all of a sudden I'm doing other shit and I'd come back and it's like kind of warm because I just didn't really drink. Like I was just going the entire time. So it was very similar to the wedding where you're just bouncing from thing to thing. But it was a great time. John, great DJ. He was taking requests. People were dancing. Like when I tell you John Hunt knows how to party, like that DJ, like when you DJ, there's a special trait. And I know people know this, but there takes something special when you DJ to make a party kind of come to life. Like you got to play the right shit and you got to play it in the right order. If you take it down too far, people are going to get bored. If you take it up too high, people are going to be like, you know, their monocles and shit are going to fall off. So you have to kind of keep it at that steady.
Got to deal with all the people who are like 8 beers in.
Oh yeah, yelling at you like 80s Joel. So it's been a good time. So we are back to school, and by that we have 2 interns. One is currently interning with us. One is going to be joining in the spring, but they're both helping out. Camden is still helping out when he can, but his internship ended, and he's still at Duquesne. He's now doing ESPN Plus games, broadcasting, which is super cool. We're super happy for him. Matt Kempter, Ryan Ems, both joining us, both basketball players, both college athletes, and we're going to dive into what it takes to be a college athlete now, because everyone always gives it this whole entire, like, especially with the NIL and, you know, getting paid, and everyone's just like, there's such bullshit like there's such division in this world, and everyone's all pissed off, and they're like, why should college athletes be paid? And all the people who say that are just fucking narps who have never played. NARP is a non-athletic regular person. When I was growing up, that's what we called everyone. Yeah, like a non-athletic regular person who would just like sits there and non-athletic. Like there's like a NARP is more of an insult. So normal people who are super cool, who aren't assholes, like they're not NARPs. But NARP is like a non-athletic regular person who thinks that they have a like an opinion or a say in what is going on in athletics. So like fans and stuff who are jumping in on these debates and being like, how dare this athlete? Like, you're a narc, dude. Sit down. This doesn't concern you. You know, well, I'm buying my ticket. Well, guess what? You haven't sacrificed your entire fucking life for the sport. So chill the hell out. Go spend your money elsewhere. If you don't want to be entertained, someone else will buy that ticket. Trust me. So that's what a NARP is. A NARP is a non-athletic regular person who has too much to say about athletics. And that's what's going on. We got the NIL. People want to get paid. I think athletes should get paid, and I'm super psyched that Matt and Ryan are in that era of athleticism where someone could just be like, here's $1 million right now, and they'll be like, sweet. And hopefully it will be us. Hopefully in the next year we become this mogul business, and suddenly we're just like, here, we're gonna have Ryan and Matt endorse us, and they're gonna wear like a patch on their headbands or some shit like that. So. First off, let's get into the whole nitty gritty. Ryan, Matt, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks for hopping on. We are talking college sports today. We are talking college athletics, and we're going to start us off with you guys, and then we're going to loop around. So Matt, let's start with you. Tell us your major. Give us a little. This is like a little icebreaker. We're going to take it back to school. We're going to go back to that middle school, high school. We were sitting in the classroom sweating. The girl next to you, is she looking at me? Is she not? You're kind of like all nervous. You're like, what the hell? So this is going to be that opening thing where you kind of like, your voice is cracking. You're like, and then you go and you tell everyone what exactly a little something about you, so then you guys can have that like little bonding experience. So Matt, we'll start with you. Your major, what is your what do you like to do besides basketball in college? Like, what are your favorite things, and what is your dream career?
So thanks for having me today, Kev. It's really, really great to be interning this semester and just be a part of the team here. As Kev said, my name is Matt Kempter. I go to Muhlenberg College. It's a small liberal arts school in Allentown, PA. We're in the Centennial Conference, so we play teams like Johns Hopkins and Swarthmore. My major right now is media communications with a minor in entrepreneurship. And I do have to say that my dream job is Colin Coward's job. I would love to take over Colin Coward's job one day.
I love that. That's like, because that's what I feel like that's what I loved. I still listen to sports radio. It's like all I listen to. Podcasts. Whenever I drive, I like almost get annoyed. My daughter's just like, Dad, like Justin Bieber's on, and I'm just like, because I want to turn on, the fan or something, or like a podcast just to listen to stuff. And she gets so mad because she just wants to listen to music. But that's such
in that kind of sense. Like, I love listening to sports talk radio. It's something that I wanted to do since I was like in first, second grade. It's the only job that I've ever had my eyes on.
I love it. Well, this is awesome because Matt, you kind of part of the show now, and this is awesome. So this is going to be, like I said, great internship for you, and we're really excited to have you. Ryan, all right, same question. Give us your major. What do you like to do, and your dream career?
So I'm a kinesiology major, but when I was a freshman, they had 3 different tracks. There's one, so you could be a gym coach, one that you would do pre-PT, and one was pre-med. So I was pre-PT, and then I switched to pre-med because I wanted to, pursue that. And I get into biochemistry, and I just didn't understand anything what was going on. I was looking at my buddy next to me. I was like, what the hell is going on? And he was like, nodding his head, everything's going well. Everybody else in the class understood everything that was going on. I'm like, dude, I am so lost. So I think that's where my journey ended. I'm in the process of switching back, but it turns out that those tracks don't exist anymore. So I don't know what I'm doing. I guess it's a general kinesiology major now, but they have me jumping through all these hoops, and it's just first week I'm back. I want to get into it. I had a plan, had all my classes set up, and now it's just adapting to whatever I can get. So that's what I'm dealing with. But I guess I'm a kinesiology major now. My off time, I like to read. I'm trying to get better mentally. Me and Kev talk about that a lot, just trying to focus up. Kev's a big reader. My dream job, I'd say, is working for a professional organization. Now that I'm back onto the PT route, I think that would be really interesting, rehabbing players. And after college, I'd like to play overseas, following Kev's footsteps. That'd be awesome.
Overseas Famous Part 2. I love it. It is so cool because I know Ryan and Matt, and I kind of watched them play in high school because I coach high school basketball. So I knew them, and it's super cool to kind of have this come back around and them be part of the show, because I watched them play as high school players, and now they're juniors in college and kind of getting ready to take on the world. So it's super exciting. Michaela, you are still in the college scene. So give us what you got. What do you got?
Well, you see, Kevin, when you leave undergrad and you get the 1 degree and then you decide to keep going to school, a little part of you dies. And like, it's the smartest, dumbest thing I've ever done, if that makes any sense. But nonetheless, I'm still getting
that for me, Michaela.
It's the smartest, dumbest thing I've ever done. I'm getting my Master's of Fine Arts at Duquesne University. It's been great. I'm a GA, so I get free tuition and a stipend. So at least I'm not adding any more debt. What I do in my spare time, I kind of live in here. If you guys can see my director chair in the studio, all this stuff around here. So it's a lot of good hands-on experience. This is a classroom, it's a functional set. So I pretty much just clean up around here and work on stuff for overseas famous and drink beers. My dream career would be to live off of my motorcycle and do documentaries.
Nice. I love it.
Turned.
John, so me and John have already done the college thing. John, I actually do want to know, what did you major in?
So my major, I started as a communications major, but before I even stepped foot on campus, I actually switched over to music education. I had no friggin' clue what I wanted to do. I did get into University of the Arts for film because that was always an interest in high school. But University of the Arts comes with a heavy price tag. So I was like, hey, let me go to Rowan University and pay like a quarter amount. But then like I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I ended up going for music education. And within the first like month, I was like, all right, I was born to like teach and be around and inspire young minds and whatnot. So my degree is in music education. I come from the performing arts world, been on stage as long as I can remember. And now I do a lot with theater and sound, and I've started my own DJ business, as we all know, if you've been listening. I've been DJing for about 8 years now. I'm literally booked up every Saturday for the next like 2 months with all the weddings that canceled last year. Thanks to all my couples out there that are listening. Appreciate it. Business is booming. But you know what? Yeah, I was wondering like if I could go back and do it all again, would I do teaching? But my dream job, I just think would be the funnest thing in the world, is to run sound over at like say like the Eagles Stadium, right? I wanna be the DJ that pumps everyone up in between, downs and whatnot. And I think so, someone's got to be producing and choosing what music and how to package what that sounds like. The packaging of sports has always been big to me. Do you guys ever remember the robots at the beginning of like Monday Night Football that would beat the shit out of each other?
Yeah.
For some reason that sticks in my mind, like that was like when I saw those robots, that was Monday Night Football or whatever. And I just think the whole idea of packaging sports is really, really neat. Like obviously like sports is awesome. I love to follow sports. I'm a huge baseball guy. But if you package it well, that's what really sells it, which is I think why me and Kev got into cahoots together, because I have some ideas of how to package and make it sound good and so that's kind of where I'm at. Like I enjoy the packaging of sports and the advertising of it.
Well, you said that. It's so true when you think about it's so funny. I was going back through, like, you think about the NBC Sunday Night Football, Carrie Underwood has kind of taken over that whole entire reign, where people who didn't know who Carrie Underwood is, if someone, even a sports fan, if you're like not a country music or a music person and suddenly someone's like, oh, it's the girl who sings the Sunday night song, they're like, oh, okay, I know who she is. It's crazy, like you said, those kind of different ways to kind of bring sports into that pop culture.
Even just think of the music that you associate with certain teams, right? Sweet Caroline, the Chicago Bulls warm-up theme.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle, when the Eagles run out of the thing. To the point where, like, on some of the sports talk shows I hear, they're like, we need to change it up. We need some new music when the Eagles, let's revitalize it. But everyone's got their own opinions and whatnot. But the music that is associated with the sport, how you guys are playing, I'm sure you have certain things that you like to listen to warming up, right? And that may differ from court to court, from region to region, right? That's something I think we have an episode planned where we talk about music and culture later in December.
That's great. Yeah, it is wild. You think about when I was in the D League, I was on NBA Inside Stuff, and it's when I was writing the book, I was trying to get I wrote about it in the book, and I talked about like that experience on NBA Inside Stuff. And as I'm going through, I'm looking through, and I'm just like, that familiar music. It's like that old NBA on ABC or NBA on NBC, like that old music, like the dun, 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 and it's like all immediately I think of Michael Jordan. Now, Matt and Ryan and Michaela, you guys are like probably too young for that. but like that was like just subliminally in my head. As if I hear that music, it's like Michael Jordan. Like I know, because every single game that was played on national TV on those weekends, like Jordan was in it. Like there was no other game. They're not going to put like anyone else. They're like, who's Michael Jordan playing today? Oh, he's playing Charles Barkley. It's like, that's what it was. So I always think about that, just that ability to kind of look through and be like, oh man, like that making that music and making those connections is huge. And that's like super cool. So let's go into this. Because I mean, obviously I'm thinking about like my career everything was set up very much like Matt's. I went to school, same thing. I wanted to be, the next big sports talk radio guy, which is why I kind of picked this up as a hobby, because I thought this is so much fun to me. And I love kind of talking sports, and there's such dickheads in sports radio now. Like that's the problem, is like, you really have to be so like controversial. You have to say such ridiculous hot takes in order to kind of be that guy. And I'm not like a hot take guy. I'm like a very honest, like, this is how it is. I'm not going to just make shit up just so people listen to the show. Like this is what the show is. We're talking overseas basketball. I'm not just going to make stuff up. So people might be like, oh, well, I'm not going to listen. I'm like, fuck off, dude. Like, sorry. But this is kind of, this is what the show is. Like, we're not going to do like crazy hot takes, but we are going to get into kind of going back to school with Matt and Ryan. And the first thing that we really want to talk to them about is juggling that schedule. Now, most people don't understand how hard it is to be an athlete in college, and let alone, making sure you're a student athlete, keeping up with your grades. Both Matt and Ryan are very good students. Do very well in school, but also perform on the basketball court as well. So we're going to kind of go into that aspect of it, something that people don't really go too deep into, because they kind of see the NCAA tournament, they see these guys playing on the floor, and the big assumption is that athletes are not smart. That's like the big thing, that athletes are dumb, they don't go to class. So Matt, real quick, dispel that myth right now. So take us through, both you and Ryan, take us through a typical day now that you're back at school, and you've been back for a week and basketball has already started off. So take us through a typical day in your life as a college athlete.
Yeah, for me, my day usually looks like I'm getting up around 9:30 for class. Usually I have a 9:30 class, so around 9 I get up, go shower, walk over to class. Then I come back, grab something to eat, and then go to my next class, and then usually come back, go to the gym for a while. And some days during the school year, like some days during the week, we have some conditioning, usually 3 days a week, and then we have lifting 3 days a week, and we have pickup usually 5. But my day's pretty busy. We play pickup usually in the afternoon after like my second class, after I work out too. And then at night it's pretty much all homework and just studying for the next day and getting to bed early so I can get up and do the same thing next day.
It's like that college athlete routine. Ryan, what about you? Take us through your typical day.
So my typical day, so we'll start with Monday. Monday was the first day of school. So I got up at 6:45, which is early, but I made sure to get to bed before. So I got up, my swipe actually didn't work because I was there too early. So I had one of the janitors let me in, who I'm friends with. So that just goes to show, be friends to everybody and anybody, because they'll help you out. But I got some shots up. I got 800 shots up, which actually made me super sore. I did not think that would make me that sore. So I went to class, went to another class, and then I got a lift in, another class. And then usually, well, we haven't started yet, but we're playing pickup. So I would add pickup into that. But yeah, they're coming heavy this year, our coaches, which is great. We want to make improvements, but it's like 5 days of pickup a week and 2 lifts, and you got to get your other work in too. But the balance is definitely tricky between school and basketball.
It is wild. And, the reason we wanted to, I want the listeners to kind of see that this is not like a normal college experience. Now, like, I know a lot of my friends went to college, they didn't play a sport. Half the time they went to class, half the time they didn't. Some were good students, some just kind of were there. But like, they would wake up, if they had a class before 10 o'clock, they weren't going. and then they would get up, eat, maybe hit a class for the day, maybe 2 classes, and then it's like get on the games, get on the sticks, hang out, start drinking, start hanging out, go this place, and like college is just so different for an athlete because the commitment level to be successful is something that you're working like a professional basketball player, but at the same time you're also going to class, you also have these other obligations, and there's all kinds of shit they make you do at college. Like there's always something that they're like that's outside the realm of basketball that they're like, oh hey, by the way, you have to do this, you have to get here, you have to go here, you have to do this. It's a full-time commitment, and for any college athlete I think it's just like applaudable, especially when you are, I always said like the biggest sign of a good, strong human being is their GPA as a college athlete. And if they have a strong GPA, it's like, damn, you did it on the court and off the court as well. So it's super commendable. So that's what I like to hear, to kind of hear the stories of like what a typical day was like for a college athlete.
It was like, well, my grandfather, when he went to school the first semester, he had bad problems at school, like failed a lot of classes, and his parents almost pulled him out. So he told me, because I'm very like my grandfather. He's like, Matt, everybody is always doing something in college. There's always somebody going out. There's always somebody drinking. There's always somebody not doing their work. And you're going to walk around and you're going to see them all day. You just got to put yourself in focus on getting your stuff done and not worrying about what everybody else is doing. And I think as a freshman, as a general college student, not even a basketball player, the first month, 2 months of that is hard because you finally get your freedom. You're looking around, like your mom and your dad aren't saying, go do your homework, go do this, go do these chores. You have all the freedom in the world, all the time in the world, and you're with thousands of people all your age, and everyone's trying to just go out and have a good time. It's really hard to focus in school at first.
That's crazy. I love there's always like that one story in your family that's kind of like, oh, Dave did it this way. He went out and he like fucked around and drank all the time. And then he ended up back home. Like there's always a story. There's always like that one story where like someone had way too much fun. Like I know, people in my family, they went to college, scholarship to be an athlete, and just like had too much fun. And like college, sometimes it does that. As an athlete, you got to really keep that level head, because if you can start sliding down that path, and once you start partying too much, like it's a slippery path, and you just start sliding down, then pretty soon your ass is out of there, because they're not going to tolerate it. Like you've signed a commitment to them, and that commitment's not met. See ya.
I think the hardest thing is basketball is a full year commitment. For these fall sports or spring sports, it's okay, you have one hard semester and the other one is you're free. Basketball, we started yesterday. We're off to the races, and it doesn't end until late March. That just spans everything, and we're here during the winter. I don't know what Matt does, but in between the semesters, we can't go home. So
yeah, same with us. We have to stay on campus, and it's empty. It's desolate.
So we, during intersession, that's what we call it, freshman year, I was just alone, like for, a couple months just by myself. I had my whole dorm room to myself. You'd go to practice and you'd eat. That's all you do. But it's tough because before games on the bus, we have a 4-hour ride to Catholic. That's our biggest ride. I'd be writing essays before the games, and it's, you just got to do that. And there's no other way around it. You don't have enough hours in the day as a student athlete. So you got to kind of multitask.
I would definitely agree with that. Multitasking, especially when you get to the season. When we go down to Hopkins, it's about like 3.5, 4 hours, and those bus rides are awful. If you're not sleeping, you got to do work. And otherwise, it's just a waste of 6, 8 hours, and you just can't really afford that. In college, it's way too much work with basketball, lifts, the regular schoolwork. I have a big class load this semester too, so I'm not really looking forward to basketball starting, but I am at the same time because basketball's starting again. But
Matt, I'm curious, did you have a lot of games where you got back super late? I got back at like 2 a.m, and then you got to get up for a 7 a.m. COVID test. And then you have, practice and all that. It's like, it was crazy.
Yeah, during the week, we would go out to schools. We would get back pretty late, usually post 11 o'clock, post 10 o'clock, like almost every time. And I mean, the Saturday games were during the day, so it wasn't as bad. But during the week, when you're getting back at like almost close to midnight, and you have class early, you're already drained. You need at least 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep. Like, it's just really mentally draining.
And honestly, I think my freshman year, I might have developed a coffee addiction unintentionally because I was just drinking coffee to stay awake. We'd have practice at like 9 p.m. and I would just guzzle down like 40 ounces of coffee and I just wouldn't be able to sleep until 2. That's the only way I could stay up for practice and be focused. But, it's just an endless cycle. You burn the candle at both ends, with this stuff. It's really difficult.
I remember my coach in college. That was the one thing. Like, I remember those bus rides and you get off the bus and we were playing in like New York or something and we'd get back, it would be like midnight, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and like he'd turn and like dead serious, he's like, be on time to class tomorrow. And you're as a kid, it's a hard pill to swallow to be like, are you kidding me? Like because as a kid, you're always looking for excuse. You're always looking for like the easy way out. It's just human nature. You're trying to find the quickest path. That's just human nature. Like no one, I always talk of like it's not like Kobe Bryant is just sitting there like, I'm going to do the hardest shit possible like every step of my life. No, he's not. He's always trying to find the easy ways. He's trying to find the ways, but he's trying to find the ways to be great. But you got to kind of maneuver. So as a kid, you're just like, it was almost like insulting. Like, dude, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I have an 8:30 class. Like, you're telling me that I have to be at that class. Like, you're not giving me like mommy and daddy aren't coming down and being like, it's okay, sweetie, you can sleep in. Like, no, it's like, you get your ass to class. There is no excuse. And I just remember thinking that and being like, that was that moment where you were on your own. No one was there to help you. And you were just kind of like, oh shit. Like, kind of like he's joking, right? And you're like, no, this is not joking. Like, we need to be in class. So I remember those days very well. That's crazy. It's still happening.
For me, freshman year was tough because it's tough for any freshman. I'm sure Matt can attest to this. But with juggling the school and basketball, so we were on a trip in Florida. I remember I was on this coach bus. Everybody else was chilling, and our final grades came out. And I had recently just gotten benched, so I already wasn't having a great time. And then I get my GPA back. I was like, damn, I really bombed my finals. Like, I was like, but I was all alone. I didn't know what to do. Everybody was enjoying their Christmas break, and I'm out in Florida on this bus and not even playing. I was just like, man, this stinks.
It's so true. Like just those little mental. The Christmas break thing sucks. And Ryan, you hit that right on the head. Like basketball, like everyone's just like, football players were like, well, fuck that, dude. Like, I was here in August. Like, I was here in the beginning of August. Like, where were you? You were still home. I was like, dude, I got here like 3 weeks after you. Granted, but guess what's going? Like, you're leaving in like the beginning of December and I won't see you again until the end of January. Like these breaks are like astronomical. It's like exam week. It's like 2 weeks of exams and half these dodos are just like, oh, my exams are done in the first 2 days and then they're gone. And I just remember those lonely days. Like, that was crazy. The campus is empty. You go to the dining hall, it's empty. And it almost got to the point where you got used to it and you're like, all right, this is pretty cool. And all of a sudden people are back and there's like part of you, it's like, ugh, like then you're waiting in lines in the dining hall and you're like, what is this? But then, there's people to look at and, mess around. So it's like,
you're like, this is my campus. What are you doing here? You haven't been here this whole time. This is my campus.
Exactly. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you in my way? Like, I've just spent the last month and a half just sitting there doing whatever I wanted, eating whatever I wanted, going wherever I wanted. Now there's like people there.
What, a week? Maybe not even that, like 3 to 5 days. And then like the first weekend you go out with your team and stuff, and then the second weekend rolls around, you're like, yeah, I want to go out again, and you realize it's the same group, and the next weekend goes by, it's still the same group, and it's like a repetitive cycle, especially with practice every day. It's like so repetitive, and like after Christmas, there's a little break of games, like we don't really have games like for like a week after that, so it's just straight practices. Just mentally, it's a lot different than it is when it's a full school year.
So I have to ask you guys, because I wouldn't call myself a NARP, but I'm not like an athlete. Like, I'm on the other side of things. Like, all the pretty lights and the music John was talking about and the promos and stuff like that happen in your sports arenas, that's me. That's my job, right? So if it was in your power and you could change one thing about your schedule or your experience just to make it a little easier, or maybe a little more traditional college experience, what would it be and why?
I mean, is taking no classes an option? Is that that's what I prefer.
No, because us normal people have to do that. So you
No,
get
it's-
one class, maybe fewer credits. Like maybe you don't have to take as
I
many.
mean,
credits.
honestly, that's kind of what I've had to do. I've realized, I took 15 credits and 17 and a half credits, and then COVID hit. So I was still taking 15, but it was online. It was a little easier. But I was thinking, what can I do to lighten my load? So I'm actually planning on taking a 5th year just because we have an extra eligibility year. And I'm spreading out my classes. I'm taking only 12 credits, which is the minimum. But I think it's going to make it a lot easier. And you kind of have to do that because my mental health wasn't great taking all these classes with basketball. So I'm trying to, if I want to focus and get A's, I got to lighten my load somehow. And my coaches aren't going to do that because it's their job to push us. So something's got to give. And it was taking one less class. So I'll let you know.
I agree with you so much, Ryan, the mental health portion of everything. I took 23 credits a semester for the first 3 semesters, and I did not go out. I was on campus from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, did not leave. I ate Chick-fil-A like 3 times a day. Not the worst memory in the world, but like, it just wasn't the healthiest thing to do. And, now that I am in my mid 30s, I look back and I go, you know what, and I have 2 sons and a stepson. Like, I kind of think, man, I would love to be able to tell them in their college years, like, slow the hell down. There is no rush. Go to a party, enjoy yourself, because you will not get that shit back. So I'm with you 100% there, man. I should have maybe went down to 15 or 12 certain times.
What's crazy thinking, I think, and you guys might experience this year, I think that balance, just like in anything in life, you eventually find that balance. And I think I did kind of my junior and senior year. I started finding the balance where I wasn't constantly just a basketball player. I remember my senior year, I got done basketball, and it was like the first time, because guys, like, you get done the season and it's like, all right, go rest your bodies for 2 weeks, and then we'll see you back for spring workouts. And you're like, fuck, like, I just got done, like, I'm exhausted. And you get those 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks are fun, but then you're right back to it. But I remember my senior year, like, it was over, and it was like the mental relief was like I was just living my best life. Like, I was drinking, I was going out. Like, I started slacking on classes. Like, I honestly was just like, you're so mentally focused on something that when you get that release to kind of just be a normal kid for a little bit, I remember just going crazy. And then I came back and I was like out of shape, and I started playing pickup again because I wanted to play pro, but I was like kind of, I wanted to live my life too. And just finding that nice balance, I think that's when you really, that's when the college experience, you're going to be able to deal with do the college things, but also have that success on the court. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough to find that balance. It's tough when you're a young kid, when you're like 18 years old, to be like, okay, here's everything. And this is, I mean, no, like, it's everything. Here's sex, drugs, rock and roll, alcohol. You are an athlete. Like, everyone wants you. Like, you are coming to the situation and you're like, holy shit. And you're 18 years old. And then everyone gets mad, like, just being like, how do they commit this violation? How did they do this? Why are they doing this? Why do they have a child? It's like, dude, like, you don't, I always say this, like, people always give you crap and stuff, and they're just like, well, why would you do this? And why would you, like, why would this girl be here? Or why would you do this with this girl? And be like, dude, like, no one wants you. Like, no one wants you. Like, and it sounds like, but like, no one wants to have sex with you. So, like, you sitting there coming at me and being like, how dare you do these? And like, no one wants to fuck you, dude. Like, they want to fuck me. And like, I'm not saying like the royal, I'm saying the royal me. Like,
we're going to soundbite the shit out of that.
But it's like one of those things where I feel like there's so many people who are just like so judgmental and be like, how do they do this as athletes? It's like, dude, no one wants to fuck you. Like, Why are you so angry? You're angry because you're sitting there going, I wish I had girls throwing themselves at me. I wish I had all of this stuff, like everything in my face. And instead, you're just sitting there like sad on the sideline and you're jealous. Like, so that's what it is. So you start getting mad at athletes and being like, how dare you do this? But you're an 18-year-old kid, like you're only human. And you just come into the situation, you don't know anything. That's why I always say college recruitment process is crazy. Like you have to decide, Matt, Ryan, you guys did it like a few years ago. You have to decide where your life is going to go at 16, 17 years old. Like you have to decide what college you're going to, because wherever you go to college, you might meet your wife there. You might meet, you might get a career out of it. You might get a job out of it. You might play professional basketball out of it. Like everything stems from this. And like having that decision at 16, 17 years old, where you're just like, here's where my life is going to take me. It's a big commitment. So you really have to know the facts. And I always say like recruiting is so crazy. And like the responsibility needs to be higher with like college coaches and stuff to actually take care of these kids, because I understand their lives are on the line and stuff, but you're trying to take these young kids and be like, hey, this is what my promise is. And it's tough. Like you're 18, you're going to get into trouble. You're going to do stupid shit in college. Everyone is. But when an athlete does it, huge bullseye on their back.
And you're definitely right. My coach always says all the teachers, all the student officers, all the cops, they know who you are. They know where you live. They know where the basketball house is. They know what's going on. Eyes are just on you 24/7. And so you kind of feel stressed. You're like, all right, can I even have fun? Can I do this? Like you want to do stuff, but you don't want the consequences. That's always hanging over your back. I don't know if Matt has a similar experience where you just got to be super good and you just can't mess up because there'd be huge consequences.
I actually kind of like a story going off that. Last year, last day of school, we're about to go out. We're at the basketball house. Like Ryan said, Campo, they know where the basketball house is. The administration knows where the basketball house is. The basketball coaches know where the basketball house is. Meanwhile, our coach lives a mile down the road. So we're all up on the balconies, like my one friend and my other friend. He's up there. Campo drives by. They yell something at Campo. Definitely shouldn't have yelled it. They were in the wrong. There's no doubt. Campo pulls the car back around, swerves, comes right in front of the house, walks right into the house. And they start saying, like, we know this is the basketball house. We know what you guys do here. Like, be smarter. Like, you want to say it to my face now? And the cop got up to my friend, was like, say it to my face. Come on, say it. It was just not a good situation, especially the last day of school. Like, we're all like, we're going home tomorrow. No worries anymore. Like, the COVID tests are done. And then this happens. There's one way to kick it off.
Like, I want to know what these people did in college. Did they just not go out? That they can say that to us? They would definitely go to parties. Why they got to ruin our fun? You know what I'm saying?
The situation was kind of bad. The kid shouldn't have said something that he definitely shouldn't have said, no doubt. But also, I agree. Like as an athlete, we do have marks on our back because Ryan. Like our schools, we're not going to like Duke to play basketball. We're not going to North Carolina. There's only my school's 1,900 kids. Not a lot of people. You know who the athletes are. Everybody does. The athletes and the people who aren't athletes all look very different.
Well, and I would argue, like, hate to be that person, but you guys, you're almost role models, of like the all-American dream. And that's not to be like,
I agree with. I do
you know
agree
what
with
I
that.
mean? So like you just have a little bit more credibility to the university, especially when they're investing. I mean, they do the same thing to me. Like I'm a GA, like I really shouldn't be going out and like drinking with anyone, that I'm friends with from a class because I represent the university. I'm now an employee. You know what I mean? It's like, so I get it. It's not the same.
Being just a regular student, they can promote you enough, but when you're an athlete and a regular student, it's just so much more they can promote, and it's so much easier to promote that. So it's like the second they do something wrong, it's like you guys are like for Muhlenberg, I think almost half the kids here are athletes. So that's like a big pull. So they want the athletes like look like they're good kids. You don't want anything bad happening.
Yeah, and they want the other thing too is coming from like the PR world also, like they don't want your name or anything that you do really being tied into something that they have to handle on their end.
Because at the end of the day, it still comes back to them.
Yeah, that's just my graduate level like expertise. I always say I'm old, so like that's just I've been through it all. So
Wait till you're at my age, Michaela. Then you'll actually be old. I try to.
sent an email the other day to my kids, like my DSTV kids, and I messed something up in the schedule, and I literally signed it. I'm sorry, I'm old and dumb. Really left it at that. Like I need the underclassmen to know that I know when I mess up. Like I'm just as embarrassed as you guys having secondhand embarrassment for me.
You guys should have seen Kevin. Kevin and I were trying to mess with one of our other teachers today, and we had to pick up this. We were picking up this desk and like moving it out of this, like hit this guy's classroom, and like I was like, "Come on, Kevin, like pick this desk up." And my man was hobbling a little bit trying to get this desk through the freaking door.
I'm telling you, like my daily life is just like my knees are just a constant soreness.
Well, we keep playing with the idea of having Kevin play on a podcast, and Kev's like, I don't know if I want to play.
I honestly, last night I went in, like the dude who I work out, he was coming in at like 8. Now we had the whole tornado situation here in South Jersey, like the Philadelphia area, like up to New York. There was the Hurricane Ida came through, and there was a bunch of tornadoes that were forming. So, you know, he's coming over at 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to head over early because I'm going to make sure that, you know, he can get in. I'm going to make sure that like the gym's not closed because he's coming over and he's like a high level client. I'm like, I'm just going to make sure shit's there. So I get over there and it's like pandemonium. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot for a little bit. So I started kind of going through some moves, and it's like the first 5 minutes I was okay. But anytime I do anything where I actually have to try to like get by someone, like my body completely shuts down to the point where I'm like, I need to stop. And then today I was like hobbling around. But I do think as you get older, like this is why I love The Office, because I think that as you get older and you're starting to go into a job, you should never lose sight of like your youth. And I think that's like what we talk about with going back to school, like never lose sight of what you are as like a younger human being, what you were, because we'll sit there and mess around with our coworkers. Like I think The Office is so funny, and all I do is think of ways to like prank people. So I swear today, I thought my one friend took my water bottle. So I was so mad. I was like, he took my water bottle. So I was like, John, let's move his desk. So we took his desk and moved it into another classroom. And then as I'm walking back, I saw my water bottle and I was like, oh, that's right, I left it over here. So I moved his desk for absolutely no reason.
You didn't even tell me that.
And then he came into my class and he was like, someone moved my desk. I was like, that's weird. So he still has no idea. But like, even just like, I think it would be funny, like wrapping paper, everything, like the wrapping paper when they wrapped up Dwight's desk in The Office. I was like, these are the things that you need to do in a normal job. Like you can't just go through and just live like you're just, you know, like an old man. So I'm trying to keep it youthful. That's why I got to talk to you guys. All right, now we're going to go into our last little segment, which is, we're taking us back to like childhood, which for me is a lot like hopping into DeLorean. We're going back to our childhood. We're going to talk about kind of like, you know, our favorite thing when we were kids. Like, let's talk about like what I know, Ryan, you kind of wanted to study PT. So let's start with you. You want to study PT. So take us through your like favorite grade school class. Like, what was your favorite grade school class? Do you have a memory? Do you have a teacher? Do you have a class that you think was like, this was the shit in grade school, where you just like, I hate this, I want to go home?
So I think me and Matt probably had the same class together. So me and Matt are neighbors. We both went to Crescent Elementary School. My favorite class, it was once a week, we got to go to gym class. It was the best time ever. It was so much fun. I had so much fun. It was crazy. But then we got a new gym teacher in 5th grade, and all the fun stopped. We had to do like strength testing and like go in our squad lines. I was like, what is this? I just want to play knockout. I don't understand. But up until then, that was my favorite class.
I love it. Matt, what do you got?
For me, my favorite class, well, more of like a favorite teacher, I guess, was probably 4th grade. I had this teacher, Mr. Clock, and he was just a great teacher. We'd we had 3 pets in the class. I believe it was a tarantula or 2 pets, and it was like 3 birds or something like that. And it was just like the environment was like very relaxed. He used to like break everyone up into teams, and like when you answer questions in class, like it would go to your team's point total. And just like he just made it seem more like less like school and like more like a fun time, I guess. He had a real big impact on me.
Michaela, what do you got?
My favorite subject probably was always like writing in English. Like I was in AP English in high school and everything because I was a loser, but I loved to talk. I loved to tell stories, and that's why I'm still in like media now. It was always the best. I don't have a specific memory. I was always a good student. I was one of those kids that was literally in like the talented and gifted program where they would like pull you out of class and stuff like that. Yeah. Now that just means I have like ADHD and like a failure complex that like I have to be good at everything. So I would argue that that actually does nothing for you except to make you like a procrastinator and like, I don't know. But yeah, that was it. That would be it. English writing.
Nice. John, what do we got?
No, it's interesting. Like I became a music teacher, so a lot of people say it was music class, but I never really considered that until like the summer before. Like I did all the music classes and stuff. You know, I was just something I did. I didn't know I was ever going to make a career out of it, and then it just became the career. You know, but back to what I think Matt was talking about. Matt, you were talking about. I think it doesn't matter what subject. In my opinion, as an educator, it doesn't matter what subject it could be. It could be math, it could be English, but like I bet we could all think of like a great teacher that we had, but maybe the subject was stupid. You know, it could be, you know, like the stupidest I don't know, like accounting. Like some people are probably, John, I love accounting, you know, but like, you know, it just matters the teacher, and you can tell within 2 seconds of walking in any classroom whether that teacher is actually passionate about what they're talking about and enthusiastic about what they're talking about. And I carry that with me as a teacher all the time. I see 950 kids in my school every year. 950 kids walk through my classroom and are in front of me. And not all of them are going to love music, but I don't want a single one of them to be like, well, that guy doesn't care about his job. You know, they may be like, I don't know, I'm not into this music, or I'm not into playing the piano or guitar or whatever. Cool, that's fine. But at least they can be like, but you know what? Hunt was trying, you know. And I did have a Spanish teacher who was the best, and I will never forget her. I friggin' hated Spanish class, but I took like 4 years of Spanish because she was the best. I was always really good at like sidetracking her, right? From like actually teaching that shit, right? She has to like get through the lesson, and I'd be like, what do you think about hot dogs? What is your favorite hot dog?
I hated people like you.
It was to the point.
I hated people like you.
It was to the point where they were like, John, what are you going to do? What are you going to like get her to talk about today? And she would like talk about it, and then she would catch herself, right? She'd be like, "Oi!" And she was like straight off the boat Spanish, man. You know, like she wasn't like I teach Spanish. She was like Spanish. So she had the thickest accent. We couldn't understand her half the time. But eventually she caught on, maybe around like year 3 of Spanish. And she would like start getting mad at me. I was like always goody two shoes. I've never been kicked out. She kicked me out of class a couple times. She was like, out right now, Jonathan. And I would like walk around the school and come back and be like, can I come back now? She'd be like, all right, come back. We need to get going, you know, like, but that I will never forget her. I don't do much with Spanish now, like, you know, but I don't remember a ton, but I will never forget Miss Senora Martinez, or if you're ever out there, you know, like drop me a line. We'll hang out. Okay. I owe you a couple beers.
John,
Spanish 3.
I'm shocked you never do anything in Spanish, considering your accent is on point.
Do you like my accent?
I don't know. It sounded like Spanish, a little Russian mixed in there. Who knows where she came from?
4 years, Deptford High School, Spanish, Senora Martinez.
Oh, that's great. So I'll round this out. The creative writing, I was a dork, but I was like, you know, I had ADHD, I had like all that shit. And so like my grades weren't always the best. I was always struggling, especially in those middle school times. But I always loved writing. And I remember I was in 6th grade, and there was this contest for our school who could write the best scary story. And we got a picture, and you took the picture and you wrote a whole story about it. And I won for our school. And I remember just like the proud feeling I had and like how proud my parents were of me. That was like a huge moment in terms of like, I started liking writing. I started trying to write down more things because I remember that moment being like I was just trying to please everyone. So I remember that proud moment of like, it was displayed and my parents were both like, wow, you're not an idiot. And like, you know, like all my older siblings were just like, oh, look what he did, as opposed to like just being nothing and terrible and you guys being awesome. Like he actually did something. So I guess he fits in. So those are the moments. I remember that creative writing contest. There was like a picture with a woman cutting a pumpkin and it was glowing. And I found it the other day. Like I was going through like old shit. My dad had saved it. Super proud of me. I went through and I read it. And I was like, this sucks. But at the same time, it was like from a 6th grade perspective. So it was definitely very weird. And I also think it was just like my penmanship was awesome. I don't know, like my handwriting is so shit right now, but my penmanship back then was so good. It was incredible. I just remember I was like, wow, like look how, but when you take your time, like I don't know, like my hand, I don't know if there's something wrong with my hand, but I like feel like I'm just like, I just write so fast that I need to just like stop and slow myself down. It's really a really,
I think we need to hear that story, Kev. I think it needs to make its way to a podcast.
Just the Halloween episode. Here's a live reading of the dumbest, scary story you'll ever hear.
Oh, I'm writing it down. Don't think I'll forget. So
Oh, good.
you better call your father to get off the fridge.
I have it. It's honestly in my attic. Like I went through all this shit that my dad gave me, and I'm going through, and it's like articles from high school of like he's like, you know, back then. Now everything's online, but back then you would like clip actual paper clippings and shit. And when this kid, like, so all these paper clippings of me like doing stats in high school and stuff, and all of a sudden I look and like I'm like, what the hell? I was like, oh my god, my dad saved it. So it was a super cool thing. So back to school episode complete, guys. This was fun. Matt, Ryan, thank you guys so much for hopping on today, telling us your story.
Thanks for having me on.
No, it was awesome. I'm super happy that you guys were able to come on. You're going to see more of their faces. This is kind of an introduction to them as well. They're part of the team, so we're very excited to have them. So Matt and Ryan, thank you guys so much. Michaela, John, season 3, we're off and rolling. Now we're going to start kind of producing that content, bringing it back, and shoving Overseas Famous, the book, the podcast, the merchandise right into your fucking faces every single day on social media, everything. So hopefully this is a good start. Good times. All right, gang. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. And thanks so much to Matt, Ryan, Michaela, and John for doing their thing. I'm Kevin Owens. This is Overseas Famous Podcast. Out.